slowly chipping away at my sanity, not being able to do a show.
Just to start off with, introduce yourselves and tell us where in Cumbria you're based.
We're based in Carlisle, and I'm Mitch. I'm the front man. I'm the singer. We've got another 4 members other than me and Sam, but they're busy right now. We've had many different sounds. We've had very different sounds.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a band called the 1975. We first intended to be that kind of sound, so we changed a lot.
I'd say we'd kind of fall under a bit more like shoegaze, definitely at this point now. But there's definitely some like 1975 influences there.
I think the shoegaze element of our music really came from me, Sam and Levi's love of My Bloody Valentine, that band.
Yeah, it kind of started out. Well, we started out the band officially around this time last year. I think just lockdown hit, and we'd kind of been torn away from what we're normally used to, because we've been in bands before, and we've done several gigs before. But I think when lockdown hit and the dissolve of the last band we were in, I think we just kind of missed like the kind of like the atmosphere and type of stuff of doing live music and recording. So we started out as the Inhibitions first of all, and we kind of started out with doing more like alt rock kind of stuff, a bit kind of like Idols and bands like that. But we slowly started shifting towards more shoegazy elements when we all started listening to like My Bloody Valentine and Slow Dive and Dive and just bands like that.
Yeah, it's nice to like hear about your evolution. I mean, like, I think it's quite interesting to sort of talk to musicians and sort of see and like hear about what their evolution and their personal interests in music is, like what it's led to their change as a band and that kind of thing. So could you tell us about the origin story of Glass Gardens and how you all came together, and then what drew you into sort of creating grunge shoegaze music?
Basically, because of the sound change in our music, we were like, we probably need to have a fresh start with this stuff, because I think we kind of wanted to keep the Inhibitions as the Inhibitions, like have it as a different side, because it's not really us. We were kind of trying to be like a sound instead of having our own sound. Now we have our own sound and that's how we like it. So we decided to create a new name and have a new like aesthetic to the band, really.
Oh no, that's really interesting. Like, I don't know much about grunge and shoegaze. I know a little bit, like I was into Pearl Jam and like Soundgarden when I was a bit younger, so I know a tiny bit about it. I know that it's somewhat influenced by punk. Do you feel like you're influenced by like punk, or is that maybe not your
Yeah,
sort of
100%.
direction?
100%, definitely. Because me, Mitchell, Levi, and Adam especially, we're all big into our like 80s and 90s like punk and like hardcore punk.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like Fugazi, Minor Threat, and just and bands like that. We kind of take we do influence from them, and we take bits from them, especially like bass lines and the drums especially. They're very reminiscent of that type of stuff.
Yeah. So how did you all meet then? So were you all friends in like school or like college, or like, so how did you sort of all come to find one another?
I think it all came from me and Sam, really. Me and Sam, ever since we first met, we've shared the same love in music, and we constantly just wanted to be in a band. And I've knew Levi since I was like a baby, basically. And when we were in primary school, we even loved like punk rock in primary school and stuff. So, but Levi only just recently started playing instruments. Yeah. So that's how we got us free. And then Jack, he's another guitarist in the band. I don't know. We became friends and got him into the band because we could see that Jack had a really like big love of music, especially grunge music, and that's how I became really close with Jack, because me and him love the Foo Fighters. We absolutely adore the Foo Fighters. A bit too much, as everyone else would probably.
Oh yeah, definitely. School concerts coming back.
And Adam, he
very recent.
He's a recent member to the band. He practices at like the same area we practice at, so every time we go to the studio, he's usually there, and we became friends through that. We actually played a gig with one of his bands, Neon Lung. They're amazing, and that's kind of how we got into that like scene, I guess you could call it. And we just recently had Lucy join the band. She plays synth and she sings on the new record. It was a great like move to add her into the band. It definitely was.
So kind of on that note then, so we know that you've released Flower Queen recently. So do you want to tell us a little bit about it, just like how you sort of came to creating it, just that kind of thing?
Oh, if we can even remember creating that song, it was
it's been written for years now, 2 years at this point now.
Like that song, it's had many different sounds, and trying to find the right sound for Flower Queen was kind of hard, but in being in the studio all together really helped, because we could all just add in little elements to it, and it became this beautiful piece of music which we all love. And just of yesterday, we got vinyls of Flower
stunning.
Queen.
Love vinyl. And solid move.
We sold out of them straight away.
Oh, nice.
So Flower Queen, yeah, it's been written for a long time. It's the chords for the rhythm guitar that I've had written for a long time, and I just couldn't find the right like place to put them in, or the right vibe, but we all managed to get the right sound, and we're very happy with it.
So I'd say, like, just by the sounds of it, that you're kind of on like a bit of a path of like, or you have been on a path of sort of discovering your sort of sound and like what you feel fits you guys the best. Do you think that it's been a bit of an evolutionary sort of thing for your sound, as you've just sort of moved through different music to see where you sort of fall in like genre-wise?
I think both mine and Mitchell's music tastes were very different from what they are now.
Yeah.
Because a few years ago, I was really big into all my metal and like metalcore and all my pop punk and stuff like that. But I've kind of with Levi showing us My Bloody Valentine, I think that was kind of a turning point. So I've started. We all listen to like bands like Slow Dive, My Bloody Valentine, and all this shoegaze stuff. But we also do listen to like the emo-y type of stuff. So like we're all really big into our like our Citizen, Turnover, and stuff like that. So we do, which is all very chordy and quite clean, and it can also be very punchy and the very meaningful lyrics. So I think we definitely draw from stuff like that. But it's been quite a bigger evolution from now and even from like September last year, when we released Something Good Can Happen, which we explored the more punkier side of our sound.
No, that's really interesting. Like, I feel with like the musicians that we've spoken to, that like sort of influences and inspiration are like a really big deal. Do you think that, so like obviously you've said like My Bloody Valentine, has there been anything else that sort of pushed you into this sort of direction? Like, so like what has influenced and inspired you as a group? It could be anything that's sort of happened to you personally. I know like a lot of people we speak to have like got things that have happened in their life. So like the pandemic has been one that's affected everyone. So
I think the pandemic, not in a bad way, it really affected us creatively. Like, we wouldn't have explored this sound if it wasn't for it. And in a way, I wish it didn't happen, but in a way I did. I'm glad it did happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think also one thing that moved us towards what we're doing now is Mitchell will know exactly what I mean as well. Is pedals.
Yeah.
Definitely, we're both terrible for it. We've spent a lot of money because we obviously with Shoegaze, a lot of the sounds you can't make without pedals and they can't come from amps. So like a lot of like reverbs that we both use, they've got quite a lot of like different functions and they can do different sounds that aren't like normal for guitar, like don't really fit into that kind of like guitar music kind of category. We like to make more like soundscape type of stuff, very ambient stuff with the guitars and the pedals that we use.
We kind of look at guitars more of like we have
secondary thing.
We have the pedals. Pedals is the thing that we think makes the sound. Like, the guitars is just like the start of it. Then you've got the pedals, which makes this beautiful sounds. That these pedals that we have, just they're amazing. We love pedals.
So just for like anybody who's like maybe watching the interview and who's like not familiar with what a pedal is, could you like give us like a little explainer of like what pedals do and like why they're important kind of thing?
Well, pedals in a sense, it's people know like overdrive and distortion. You can get those on your amps. It turns your guitar from clean into overdriven. But pedals, it's well, with a lot of stuff like the delays and your overdrives, it saves you having to switch from go towards your amp and change all settings. But pedals, in a sense, they're just a box with a bunch of like dials and circuitry in them. But they're programmed to add like different sounds, and you can adjust them. You can fine tune and adjust them to however you want. Whereas on some amps, you just can't do that. I know with our amps especially, we use quite like basic, where there's no effects. It's just kind of just dry there. But we use pedals for the majority of our sound. Like one standout one that for me and Mitchell is Mitchell's got his reverb it's got loads of different presets, and a standout one would be the reverse reverb, where instead of just reverb in a sense just makes you sound kind of like you're traveling through a tunnel with like the kind of reverberation of your sound, where it kind of bounces back at you and makes it sound quite echoey and airy. But reverse reverb, instead of the sound going away from you and making it sound more like an echo, it takes your guitar signal, it adds the reverb, and then it sends it back at you. So it's kind of like you're playing your guitar and it's coming out in reverse. It's
like a, what are them things called? I've just lost the word. I had the word. Those things that you throw and they're meant to come back to you. What are they called?
Oh, like boomerang. A boomerang.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. No, guys.
Puts it perfectly.
Okay. So I guess with like the whole pandemic in mind, then has your creation process changed as a result of like the lockdowns and all the tier systems and it's like all that kind of thing?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, it's just affected us because we've got more time to just think about the sound, and we've got more time to experiment with our sound. But if the pandemic wasn't around, we'd probably be like out gigging, or if we're not gigging, we'd be writing. But now we've got so much free time to just experiment, and that's really been beneficial for us.
Yeah. No, I think it's like with some of the musicians we've spoken to, they've sort of found this time as like a nice time of self-reflection, but also a time where it's been like really tough for everyone. So it's kind of been a time of sort of reflection and introspection. Do you feel like you guys have definitely sort of had a lot of time on your hands to sort of think about your band and your music and your sound, and like sort of like, have you found that a good thing overall?
Mm-hmm. With obviously with a lot of free time, we've had a lot of time to just focus on the band.
Yeah.
Whereas when the pandemic wasn't hit, a few of us work, and then obviously balancing that with college, which I'm currently at now. But it's given us a lot more time. It's given us a lot more time for our studio, to work in the studio as well. Also, shout out to Rec Studios, couldn't have done this without them. Big up, Dom.
Rec Studios, amazing. Let's just go and talk about them for a second.
Let's plug them for a bit.
Dom Smith, he's the owner of Rec Studios. He's amazing. He's helped us out so much once the last lockdown lifted, whenever that was. He gave us the opportunity. Yeah, somewhere around then.
Time.
He gave us the opportunity to rent the room out with him, so that instead of paying hourly to practice, which we couldn't because of the pandemic, we got to actually have the key to the room, and it's been really amazing for us, because other than that, if we wouldn't have any, like Flower Queen wouldn't be out right now if it wasn't for Dom.
Yeah, and he
also mixed it, which was
it's better than I could have imagined. It's also a lot better having the studio as well, because before this and the first EP we done, which isn't on Spotify or anywhere anymore, because it doesn't represent us anymore. That was recorded in Mitchell's bedroom. The drums on it, they were MIDI. They weren't actual recorded drums. But so what we'd have to do, obviously with the pandemic, we couldn't. So what I'd have to do is I'd have to send over Mitchell a file of my guitar part, and then he would then do it, like record it himself into Logic. And at that point as well, we were using a pirated version of Logic on a mini Mac, which wasn't ideal at all because we had constant crashes. And there was many times where we'd lose hours and hours of work because it just crashed. And at that point as well, we weren't really comfortable using pedals, or we didn't have the resources or the money to get them. So we were just using like VSTs and like plugins for our guitar tones, which when we look back at it now, they just sound very, very artificial and very like digital, which it's not. It doesn't sound good at all.
But in a sense, I'm glad that happened, because even if it wasn't because if the pandemic wasn't a thing, this band wouldn't be a thing. I mean, it was kind of a silly idea, really. Like during a pandemic's just started, I'm like, oh, let's start a band. We can't do anything, but I'm glad it happened anyways.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a case of sort of perseverance with you guys. I feel like it's so important to like communicate to like our audience as well that like perseverance and determination does pay off. And obviously with you guys, it has paid off because you've come into your own with your new sound. Like I really like it from what I've been listening to. So
thank you.
Yeah, I think it does seem like it's that kind of thing. Do you feel like you've had to develop a lot of grit to sort of push through like sort of bedroom recording and like that kind of thing?
It's not so much being like pushing through grit, really. It's more of being it's by all means, it's not been a smooth process at all. We've had like several ups and downs. We've had like very low points in the band where things aren't just going well at all. But we pushed through it, and and here we are. The single's been out for I think about 3 days now, coming up 3 days, and just the support and like the feedback we've had, it's been amazing. It's the most like love we've ever had from any of our music.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the record selling out within 2 hours, and we've had hundreds and hundreds of streams of the song over all the platforms in 2 days, which is unheard of from us. It's just been it's been amazing.
Yeah, it really has. We were like, once Flower Queen was fully mixed and everything, we all just sat in the studio. We had it blasting on the speakers, and it was a really beautiful moment, because we all know how much this song means to us, because we've had it written for such a long time, and we just haven't been able to move forward with it, being with the pandemic and just not being able to get the right sound. I remember sat at the back of the room crying because of how beautiful it was. Just amazing to see and know that song was done finally.
Yeah,
it's been a very long process writing that song. Very, very frustrating as well. My guitar part in the song as well is changed like a lot since we first done it, because just about a year ago we done a Happy Out Loud Day. We done the Happy Out Loud Day to raise funds for Save Our Stam. And at the very end, before the camera cut off because the camera just died, we played Flower Queen in its most simple form. It was the first draft of it, and it was originally meant to be an acoustic song. It wasn't meant to be a shoegaze song. It was meant to be just a sad, slow acoustic song. And just from that, we took that and I changed up my guitar part to it. I made it kind of like we were sat in Mitchell's bedroom and listening back to the recording, and I said, instead of making this acoustic, should we make this kind of like, we kind of had like a festival song in mind, making it very upbeat, very jumpy, very catchy. And I sat down, I was like, what about this? What about this lead part? Because I played like a kind of similar to what it is now, with the lead line at the beginning, and it fit with the chords, and it's kind of just clicked from there with the chorus lead part as well.
Yeah.
But at the end of the song as well, when it goes into the latter half of the song, before it goes into the double time, I have a solo in it where it's just kind of just like a faster tremolo picked part, which originally wasn't there. It was originally meant to be a tapping riff, which looking back, it wouldn't have fit. I might throw it in sometimes here and there when we play it live, but it sounds a lot better now.
I do remember that moment
a few months ago.
I remember that moment of us sat in our bedroom, and he was just like, he showed us the lead part, and I was like, yes, that's it, that is it. we just sat for hours, and we made this really, really rough demo. It was like 1 minute long.
Yeah, it was 1.5 minutes long, which at that point we were very bad for making songs that were maybe like 2.5 minutes long. Because we were kind of straight
2 minutes.
Yeah, we were just like there, like, oh, this sounds good. The verse is for like 30 seconds. The chorus is about like 30 seconds, a minute. I'm like, oh, yeah, let's just do it again and add a little bit on the end. And it was rinse and repeat and again and again. But I remember the first time I mentioned about the tapping solo, you just gave us such the funniest look and went, no, I'm not making this into an Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah. I always used to make that joke because the solo was a tapping solo, and that was like an Eddie Van Halen thing in my mind anyways, because he didn't explain it, he didn't like play it, he just said, oh, I want to do a tapping thing. So that was, to me, I was like, no, I don't want to.
No, not Eddie Van Halen.
But at the time when we recorded it, we thought it was amazing. We were like, oh my God, this is so cool. But we really prefer this one now.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. It's great to hear just the process that you've gone through to get it out. It's so interesting hearing like a song's backstory. Do you write all of your own lyrics, or do you like have someone else who does them, or?
It depends on the song. For Flower Queen, I wrote the lyrics for Flower Queen in like 10 minutes because I was just so excited to write. Because on that rough demo, we were really happy with it. We thought it sounded really good. So I was like, this is going to be a good song. So I just sat for 10 minutes, wrote lyrics. I recorded a really rough take of the vocals, and none of the lyrics have changed since. I was really happy with the lyrics. I think the chorus lyrics are very, very catchy, and the melody. So I was happy with it, and I haven't changed it since.
No, that sounds fab. So I feel like I kind of might know the answer to this, but what has been your favourite track to create so far, and why?
As much as Flower Queen's been, it's been quite a pain to record, but as much as I absolutely love it. I think the next single we've got coming out has been my favourite to record. It was the first song we've ever recorded in a live setting, whereas in the first time we'd kind of just go, okay, we'll get the guitars, we'll come into the studio today, we'll record the guitars and bass, then we'll do the synths, then drums, then vocals. But with the next single out, it was very just it came from a sound check. We were coming in to do a rehearsal, and we were getting the levels down where we were going to actually rehearse Flower Queen. And I started playing the intro chords, and I said, Mitchell, play these chords over and over. And it I don't know, it just sounded different. It sounded very, very different.
Yeah,
and then I said, oh right, play that for 8 bars, and then turn on your overdrive, and then turn your fuzz on, and then I kind of pride myself on being able to like write parts quite quickly, but this one definitely wasn't. Straight away I messed up so much recording that. We took about 8 or 9 takes to do that, and then it kind of just all came across from there. But on the next single, you'll definitely hear a lot more of like the shoegaze influences that we have, 100%.
My favourite song to record was probably the same one Sam's talking about. It happened so quickly. Like we were rehearsing, we just started playing those chords, and we set up mics and recorded it. That was it. We set up mics, recorded it, and that was that song. We were like, that's a good song.
Great.
I mean, we've got 9 out of 12 songs recorded for the album, which actually isn't announced yet. I probably shouldn't have said that, but
that's a sneaky previewer.
But yeah, the next song, definitely my favourite one.
Keep your eyes peeled for June. I'm not going to say when it is, but keep your eyes and ears ready for June.
I guess that kind of segues into our last question, which is what future plans are in store for Glass Gardens?
We've got either 1 or 2 more singles coming, and then we've got a record coming in around late September or early October. So that's kind of, and we've got gigs sorted. We're not going to say anything else. We've got gigs sorted. That's just what we can say.
Yeah. But we're hopeful that we can try get some festivals booked for this year. I know it's not looking hopeful at the minute with COVID, and a festival season is coming very soon, from May to September.
Yeah.
But very hopeful that we can get onto some festivals this year.
Oh, fingers crossed. We're desperate to get ourselves back to festivals, so
yeah,
we're all praying for you.
We all are. We all need to get back to shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think this the first time we're gonna do a show, it's gonna kind of just be we're back to this we're back to the normality that it was in 2019. It's we haven't done a show for a long time, and it's slowly chipping away at my sanity not being able to do a show. It's terrible. It's awful.
I think that's kind of we're just itching to play. We're itching to play songs live, because for the amount of time that we've just played them to ourselves,
we want other people to hear them live as well.
We're getting sick of hearing the songs to ourselves. We need someone else to hear them.